Hello friends, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink with Simon Says Stamps January 2022 card kit. Disclaimer as always, these kits are sent to me by Simon because I'm on their design team. I don't have to do unboxing videos or anything like that. I just like doing them because it's fun. So let's check out what's in this fabulous kit. I am super excited. Alright, so this is the Warmest Wishes card kit. And it comes with, let's do the stamp set first because it's adorable. So there's the stamp set, the Warmest Wishes stamp set, a 6x8 set. It's adorable. Bunch of sentiments, cute little snowman. I love these trees. You can build like the cutest little scenes. Thinking of you, let it snow, love and thanks, sending happy thoughts your way. I always love that the January kit is usually winter themed, obviously not Christmas, kind of any occasion. You can get a die set for this separately. I'll have links as always. So there's the stamp set. There's a fabulous stencil. Let me move. This is the Scattered Snowflakes stencil. Love. Love. You also get an embossing folder. You get the Faceted Snowflakes embossing folder. Also love. Oh, love. Okay, so you get that. You get a jar of the new and exclusive SEAFOAM Glitz glitter gel. This is really pretty. It's such a neat color. I love it. So you get a jar of that. And it is completely different. When Simon released the pack of Glitz glitter gels, I'll link to them. You got a set of 6. So this was the closest color. This was just Surf. They're completely different, you know, and that's like the full size, and then this is the set from the set. So yeah, you get one of those, fabulous, and then you get 12 sheets of La La Land Crafts Starry Night 6x6 double-sided paper. These papers are really pretty. I really like that one. Oh, they're fabulous. Just pretty. I like the colors too. Like, yeah, the aqua, pink, dark blue, gold, of course. Hello. Oh, I like that ombre look. They're so pretty. Let's get all those papers. And then you get a pack of Hampton Arts Self-Adhesive Gems. The color is perfect with Simon's Dull Pink. Love. Oh, candy, of course. Can't go wrong with that. Cardstock. So Simon's Lavender, Soft Navy, Dull Pink, Nina, 110-pound solar white, so you can Copic color with this. It's also good for card bases. Some Simon envelopes. Love. Kit in a nutshell. I have no idea what I'm gonna make. I get so many ideas. Of course, the glitter gel with the stencil. Love. Love. So many ideas. We'll see. We'll see. Just stay tuned. Stay tuned. And I will have all the links below. Like always, I'll link to the kit because people ask for that. You can subscribe to the kit. A monthly subscription. There's info about that with the kit. You can just purchase the kit outright, don't have to subscribe. You can also get items individually. I always link to them below, as well as on my blog. It's picture links, all that stuff. So that info will be below, and then just stay tuned and we will see what I decide to make with all this. Alrighty, so ended up making 4 cards. Was originally only going to do 2. I started with the stencil and the Glitz glitter gel. So I adhered the stencil to some of Simon's just white cardstock. And then I have it just kind of positioned inside my little waffle flower mini stencil mat. And then applying the paste. My paste is really thick. I don't think this is how it normally would be. I just worked with it. It's fine. It froze solid on the way here because it's actually, as of me doing this voiceover now, it's -40. So it's cold. Anyway, what I did afterwards though is I sprayed some distilled water, and I can't officially recommend this because I don't know for sure if it's kosher, but I used some of the Distress Perfect ink refresher. I sprayed some of that in it too. After I did this, of course. I should have done it ahead of time because it did like thin it out a bit and make it more of a spreadable consistency. So there's ways. But another big thing, and I've mentioned this in many videos and I'll show it here, is after I've stenciled on over the stencil, I take press and seal. I will have a link to it because in some it's harder to get in international areas, etc. But Simon sells it. And I use press and seal on all of my, like, especially glitter gels and embossing paste, anything like that. Things that like want to dry out quicker because it's just the nature of the product. I put that press and seal over it and then screw the lid on, and it's sealed. And it's press and seal is like one of those like must-haves in the craft room. So after I did that, I cleaned up the mess I made, just wiped it off my surface, cleaned off the stencil, palette knives immediately because glitter gel, doesn't matter the brand. If you let that stuff dry in your stencil, you're not going to get it. Like, you can try scrubbing it, but you'll more likely ruin the stencil, especially a detailed one like this. So anywho, let it dry, which I don't know how long it takes. These cards, this whole video took me multiple days. It's been a little bit nuts. But anyway, I let it dry, and it doesn't dry firm. Like, you can see me sort of bending the cardstock a bit here and there. Like, it doesn't crack or anything, which is great. But I flipped it over and I trimmed off the little bits that were kind of hanging off one of the edges. So I had a flat edge so that I could trim these pieces down because I wanted them smaller than my A2 card front. So I ended up trimming them down to like 3 3/4 by 5. I don't always give measurements because more often than not, I'm just in the zone, whatever. But yeah, you can even see it right on screen. 3 3/4 by 5 inches. So I used my little guillotine trimmer to trim all that down. And same thing, when applied over just cardstock glitter paste like this, they also don't like flake off anything, like they are adhered. So I cut those down, and then I cut down some of the dull pink cardstock slightly larger, adhered these pieces together. And again, because they're like kind of warped, because I did apply this paste pretty thick, after I adhere the layers, I just put them like kind of under my MISTI, underneath the things that are like heavy, just so that everything can adhere properly, let the glue dry, set, etc. So I did all that, and then I used the Nina cardstock that came in the kit. This is the Nina 110 pound. Usually I use 80 pound one Copic coloring, but this was in a kit and I was like, meh, I'll just use it. And this is where this starts morphing into 4 cards instead of 2 because I couldn't decide which snowmen to use, and I was like, I'm going to use them all. And the trees, I really love this set. It's really cute. So I lined up the snowman and the two of the trees, and then I'm just stamping them with Simon's Intense Black ink. I'm not worried about getting a perfect impression. I just want it stamped, and I like Simon's Intense Black ink because it's Copic friendly, it's not going to smear, etc. So stamped all those, and then colored all of these images in with Copic markers. So I use like BV quadruple 0 for the snowman, just to give it a little bit of shading. Nothing too crazy. And then I just have like color combos. I just went through my markers and picked out combos that kind of matched the like colors of the paper. So the lavender color, the soft navy, the dull pink, etc. And I keep having to wipe, I'll just mention that because people might notice. I keep having to wipe my work surface because the caps are leaky on my Copics. There's nothing wrong with my Copics, but I think since I moved into my garage to work, and again, it's cold, the temperature change, I think, has caused several of my markers to be just annoying. So I need to do some marker maintenance. After doing this video, I was like, almost all of my markers, like they just need to, if you take the caps off, if you find that it's happening, if it's not because you overfilled them, because that can also be an issue. But I know I haven't overfilled them because I haven't refilled my markers in ages. But if you find that like you take your caps off and they're doing that, like they're just kind of leaky, take the caps off both ends of your marker and let it sit for a minute. it just kind of rebalances the pressure, because the insides of these markers are pressurized, and that usually will help. And that's what I need to do with all my markers. But when you've got the entire set of, 300 plus colors, I just haven't had the time or energy, but I need to do that. Plus clean them using like little alcohol wipes. That's a good way to clean your markers as well, just to clean like the caps and around the area that's holding the nibs and that sort of a thing. If your markers are getting, really filthy, etc. That's just one of the things you do if you invest in Copic markers, is to maintain them. So anywho, that's my little side info on Copics and all that fun stuff. So I went through and did all this coloring on all these little images in these aquas and hot pinks and navy color combo, which I really like. It's another thing. That's another reason why I kind of like kits, because a lot of times it'll be color combos and brands of pattern papers and certain things that I normally wouldn't think of. And then once they're in my hands and I see it all together, it's like, oh, I love this. Like this color combo I love. I really like these pattern papers. Like I'm getting inspired. So it's one of the things I really enjoy about the Simon kits, is a lot of times I either discover new products through them or just things like this, like new little color combos and things like that. So with the trees, I stamped them multiple times, but I'm only coloring these two on camera, and then the other ones I did all off camera. And because I don't have the coordinating dies, I fussy cut everything. Which at one point I was like, oh dear, like why did I decide to make multiple cards when I'm fussy cutting all these little images? But still worth it. They were cute, and I enjoyed the process. So colored in the trees, and then I started using my white gel pen to add little, highlights and dots and all those things, before I remembered that I wanted to re-stamp all these images. I've shown this in other videos. It's a tip I've picked up from Yana Smakula's videos, is re-stamping after you've colored them using a like darker pigment ink. So I'm using VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink, and it's a little nerve-wracking because you have to leave the stamps where they were. So they were all sitting in my mist exactly where they were. So you just have to make sure you line up the cardstock properly. Again, I made sure it was lined up. I ink up the stamps and stamp them, and I noticed a huge difference. Like I really love that look. I can't explain it. It's just something I really like. So I did that with all of the images. Like I stamped them, colored them, and then re-stamped them with that Nocturne ink. Then went in with my little white gel pen. This is the Jelly Roll 10 gel pen, and added the little dots and highlights and all that fun stuff just to give it that little extra something. I only did it to the snowman. I didn't bother doing it to the trees. I was going to add more splatter to the trees, and then in the end I think I forgot. If it's not one thing, it's another. But the images were so cute, I don't think it really matters. So got all that done. Fussy cut them, or if you have the coordinating wafer dies, I would die cut them. So I did all that, and then of course, like I was like, oh, I'm gonna do more cards. So I forgot to zoom out. I'm using this is the big platinum from Spellbinders. This is the big one. This will hold like an 8.5, like die cut an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. So I've got my platinum with the platform, and I've shown again in videos using the Simon's 3D embossing folders. I will use the folder, and I will usually use 2 metal shims, but if you don't have metal shims, another option is to use a couple pieces of cardstock, or that like chipboard type backing that comes with the embossing folder. You got to fiddle with it. There are recommendations on Simon's site for the different die cut machines and the different sandwich stacks that are used. My biggest point of advice, regardless of what machine you use, is do not force it. Like if your machine is not taking the emboss foil, or you're trying to like force it through, don't. Because one, you'll break the embossing folder, which I've done. And 2, you could potentially break your your die cut machine, which is, you definitely don't want, because that's happened to me with other brands of machines. Not fun. So anyway, I embossed the lavender cardstock with that FACETED Snowflakes embossing folder. Love. And then of course I'm going to add splatter. So I'm just using my Avery L white spray. I don't ever use the actual spray nozzle. I always either pour it out or like dab it out onto my little palette like I showed there. And then I picked it up with my little fan brush, splattered this heavily all over the background because snow, of course. So splattered. You could use picket fence distress paint. It makes great white splatter. I have a jar of Copic opaque white, which is one of my favorites. Very hard to get my hands on. That's another good white splatter. This Avery L white spray, another good one. white gouache. I've shown that in a ton of videos, another fave. So there's a lot of options out there. So after I did that, I die cut some vellum with one of Simon's circle wafer dies. I was going to heat emboss these sentiments with just white embossing powder. And then I remembered I had this steel navy embossing powder, which was perfect. I don't reach for this very often, but it was perfect with the like soft navy cardstock and the coloring on the images. I was like, ooh. I like when things like that just, you know, happen. So I stamped one of the sentiments onto those circles with clear embossing ink. I used my anti-static powder tool first, stamped the sentiments, coated it with that navy embossing powder, melted it with my heat tool. And then I took a scrap of white cardstock and I'm stamping another sentiment from the set using Simon's dull pink ink. So everything's matchy and just coming together and was making me happy. So then to adhere everything, I took that little companion sentiment and adhered it with some thin 3D foam squares. And then the trees I'm adhering to this little vellum circle just with some craft tacky glue. And then the little snowman I'm also going to pop up with these little thin 3D foam squares. So I adhere all of this to the little vellum circle first. And then I'll flip the vellum circle over and I can hide all the adhesive behind the sentiments and the images and whatnot because glue shows through vellum. And then I can adhere that to my background. And with all these backgrounds, once I put the adhesive down, like the vellum down, I put acrylic blocks over it just to hold it down to let that glue adhere. And then for my card bases, more of Simon's white cardstock. And I'm using the stencil again. But this time, I have the stencil on the inside of the card, and I'm using SEAFOAM ink, because it matches the SEAFOAM Glitz glitter gel. And I'm blending that with one of Simon's blending brushes, starting at the bottom, and then picking up less and less ink with the brush, so it just kind of fades off towards the top. So, and I'm working this time on my little tonic magnetic stencil mat. So holding everything down just with the magnets, and then blending the ink again, starting more kind of at the bottom, and then just blending it up about halfway roughly. So 2 of the card bases I'm doing with this SEAFOAM ink, and then I'm going to clean off my stencil, wipe off the background or the media mat there, and then apply the stencil to my 3rd card base, and this time I'm going to use Simon's lavender ink and another blending brush. And same thing, heavier ink application at the bottom of the inside of the card, and then just kind of letting it fade back into white about halfway up. So I'll do that to the 3rd and the 4th card bases. Just kind of ties in this whole pink, purple, aqua, navy combo. So apply that to my 2nd card base. So once I've got all of those stenciled, I'm going to put these card bases back into my MISTI. Now that I've done all the stamping with the snowman, etc., took all those stamps out, and I'm going to take another one of the sentiments from that stamp set. So I'm going to line that up on the inside of the card, and this I'm going to stamp with Simon's soft navy ink. So ink up the stamp, and again, just repeat the process. Like I do with everything, whether I'm making, 2 cards or 4 or 50, that sort of thing. Doing everything in phases, so all the backgrounds, all the stamping of the main images, all the coloring, all of the stenciling, So it just makes everything go somewhat quicker and easier, technically. But like I said, these took a few days. The holidays and all the craziness and just life. Anyway, after I had the inside stamped and stenciled, I can adhere the card fronts to the card bases. And they'd be fine just like this, but the kit came with blings, so of course I'm going to use it. So I adhered the panels to the card fronts, and then I pulled out that bling that came in the kit, because you can't really see it, I don't think, on camera much, but I did add like a dot of glue above, like behind the vellum above each of the sentiments, just to adhere it to the card base. And so I used the bling to cover that dot, and then also to add embellishment, because it just brings out that pink, which there's something about Simon's dull pink. It's one of my favorite colors, and then this bling is just fabulous. So since it's self-adhesive, I just peeled it off with my little honeybee die pick and placed it onto all of these cards, kind of doing odd numbers and triangles and that sort of thing. Once I get all this adhered, these cards are complete. They were super fun. These images are super cute. I don't know what it is. I really love making like winter themed not like generic, I guess you'd say, cards, like thinking of you type cards, especially with cute little images like these snowmen. I think they're adorable. It's just a fun set. So like I mentioned earlier in the video, I will link to the kit, I'll link to the subscription info, I'll link to all the supplies I used, I have links to all the things. So just check out the description box below the video, and then I'll also, of course, have a link to my blog post. And in the blog post, I'll have all the pictures posted, picture links to everything, all that info. All of it will be there for you guys. So if you want to check that out, just check out the description box below. I'll also have, you know, my social medias. So if you guys want to follow me on Facebook and Instagram, I've got that all linked as well. Thank you all so much for watching, for subscribing, thumbs upping, and commenting. I very much appreciate it. And I will see you all very soon in the next video. Bye.